Okay, good morning, everyone. It's 10:30 and we should be getting started. While our folks are working on the technology side, I'll introduce myself. So this session is all about citizen science-based approaches and how they can help improve data acquisition for small fisheries. My name is Obura and I'm working as the tuna coordinator for WWF. I'm actually employed by Mozambique, so I work for Africa, but my remit is Indian Ocean.
It should be that one. It's that one.
If we're ready to go, what we will do is we'll try to make this as interactive as possible because hearing from all of you is more important than us talking more. So what we've got is we've got 4 presenters. They will be making quick fire
presentations. Let me stop here
and then we'll have 2 members on the panel.
And don't do
asking questions.
I'll do it.
And before I do that, I'll also explain that we'll try to do this in an interview style. So my panelists would be asked rapid fire questions which they have to answer rapidly. Can you go to the next slide, please? So while we're struggling with the technology, I'll just also talk about it. It's been 15 years that I've worked for WWF. That's the first slide that I had, which is not there at the moment. I did my master's in marine zoology. I was a global fellow for youth. I've been recently nominated for the Young Ocean and I've made my way gradually to training where I am right now. I worked a lot on mangrove conservation, which are my next slides, which are still not there.
Wait a little bit.
So I'll continue to talk. Well, let's get started.
Yes, we're done.
This one. Can you have this in the slideshow mode, please? Go back to the first slide. Thank you. So that's me as a kid, and that's my father right there, and my elder brother. And I like video games as well. Oh, thank you. Sweet. As I was mentioning, my work spread across now is 100% focused on policy, but mostly I started working with bycatch. I worked in the Indus Delta in Pakistan on mangrove conservation, working with coastal communities which live in creek areas, which we're quite familiar with. And we learned that with climate changing rapidly, we're experiencing erosion of land. And all these creeks within 1952 to 2006, we had this analysis undertaken. And we looked at about 8,000 hectares of area being lost to the sea. A lot of these creeks have widened up now. This is 2006, again, pretty old. But we're beginning to see these creeks widening up. For instance, now if you go on the map, you'll see that this whole area has disappeared. This channel has widened to about like a kilometer long now. And you continue to see a lot of the impacts on the mouths of the creeks. So climate is changing and it's happening. And what it's doing is it's pushing the coastal communities out of their comfort zone to leave their homes because they are the most vulnerable when it comes to sea intrusion or when it comes to facing the wrath of climate and also coupled with exogenous factors. So we're working with small-scale fisheries with smaller nets leads to bigger problems, like using trash fish, which in 2000, before 2010, we hadn't really heard about it, but it's actually the sardines, we talked about it in the last 2 days, and how can we be more smarter in fishing, catching juveniles of sharks, catching dolphins, not intended, of course, obviously. And we recognize that this problem needed discussion, we needed to stop. Why? Because of future generations. We needed to ensure that the lives of these people and lives of the next generation can be secured. So how can we do that? We need to talk to people. We need to engage them in discussions, train them some more, engage with women, because the women groups are very important. I think you've talked about the inclusion of women, but we haven't emphasized how important women and why the inclusion of women is so important, because men like to spend money. They, as soon as they get a good catch, they go to the next big town to spend their money. But women, they are the income savers. They save money, and that's one of the reasons why at the household level, they're all governed by women. And then we have to train the next generation as well, give them exposure, engage with schools, engage with governments, play football with them. It's a football World Cup, right? That's me about 15 years ago, well, 12, and play cricket with them. And then engaging them in nature conservation work, identifying champions to work with. Now, this man here, Salim Daglo, you can go on Google him online. He's a big celebrity now. He's one of the fishermen who's become an entrepreneur, and is now being showcased in his recently showcased in the park for the great work that he's doing. But that did not come as quickly as possible. We had to provide incentives. Incentives driven with cold storage boxes, boat engines, boat repairs, craft fattening ponds, opening of the markets, and what the impact was: people, bamboo planted areas, people using ice boxes for storing fish to get good quality and selling them at a much higher price than usual, having aquaculture integrated with mangrove conservation, and basically giving them a voice to raise their concerns and for them to be put on the map of the globe. Training fishermen, citizen science. So, in the end, what I would like to say in my presentation is we need to do more than we are doing currently. We've talked about this. We need to have practical, realistic solutions, but we only need to manage people. So the better that we are able to manage people, the better we are able to manage expectations. And we need to play hardball. We need to take hard decisions. We need to tell ourselves hard truths. If we're not able to tell ourselves hard truths, then who we are. Yes, the voice matters. And of course, talk about fisheries management, it's an endless argument. The whole fish will disappear by the time you get to a fisheries management argument, you need for everyone, for what it's worth. But what I would really like to do is you can all stand up. Sorry, Laura, while she lost her life. We need to have a thank you, everyone. Laura was an amazing activist. She worked for the betterment of the communities in Mozambique, and she lost her life, and she's not with us. So moving on today's plan, wanted to give the introduction to the citizen science. We're going to move on and introduce the panel. So I'd like to call my friend Eduardo Rivera. If you join me on the left, please. Avelino, you could also please join me on the left, Qazi. And the way we're going to go is we're going to present 4 case studies and then we're going to have an interview and then open up the discussion for everyone. So while the panel is being seated, if I could request Eduardo, if you can let us know what are your expectations for the presenters today and what would you like to take home?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, my expectation is that we will see, we will have access to opportunities for the region that we can probably use and test in our region and see if it's possible to implement in Africa, in the SWIO region, for example, and see if we can improve our small strategic benefits with those economies or systems.
Great, fantastic, thank you, Eduardo. If I may also request, please introduce yourself and from a government's perspective, what would you like to take home from the presenters and what you expect?
Thank you very much, Chen. My name is Obura. I'm from Mozambique. I'm a government officer working for Minister of Sea, Inland Waters. And I also been appointed to be part of interim project management unit for the establishment of SADC Fisheries CNCS coordinating. Well, my expectation from this presentation session is
So next one.
to get information on the main tools like NCS tools that can be applicable for small scale fisheries and also know a range of information that can be done using non-electronic monitoring system that can inform better inform management for everybody's national. Thank you.
Thank you, Evelino. Qazi, please do introduce yourself and let us know what are you basically bringing from Pakistan and why you're here.
After the presentation.
My name is Raudin, and basically
Just let me know when you want to
my
share it.
past is I'm from Navy, so I retired as a commander, but I had the opportunity to serve as director level at Maritime Law Enforcement Agency, which is akin to Coast Guard to any world. And you know the main job of Coast Guard is to implement national laws and regional laws in the country. So I am privileged and to have the opportunity to see the fisheries with both the lens from the government perspective and from the NGO perspective. So yes, secondly, I would like to learn the methods and the tools available for the betterment of fisheries involving citizen science based approach and all that, and what we are doing, how we can coordinate and dovetail those things in this region, and what we can learn from this region is what the purpose of myself to be there.
Thank you, Ravi. And thank you, panelists. Now I'd like to introduce the presenters. Jawad, if you can join us here as well. Carolina. Jose. And sure, probably I need your help with troubleshooting. Are we good?
I should sit here. Yeah, you should sit. I'll be put the next presentation. Just fire it up.
Sure.
So before the next presenter, Jawad, maybe you can join us in call and walk us through the big one.
Hello everyone. My name is Jawad Khan, and working coordinator in Pakistan. And the topic I'm covering today is improving the data acquisition from small scale artisanal fisheries with low cost data collection systems. So before taking you to the system, I wanted to tell you some of the things regarding the Northern Indian Ocean, where we have 22 regional countries, and in the Arabian Sea, the fishermen associated with the small scale fishery mostly uses this sort of gill net, who are both monofilament and multifilament in nature, and they can go as long as up to 15,000 meters, starting from 500 meters in the sea. And if you can see the graph, the share of the gill net vessels is more than any other fishing practices that is going on in the Indian Ocean. These are two types of vessels that mostly operate in Pakistan. So the vessel with the double story and with the brown bottom, these are very less in number. They are around 250 and 300 in number. But the vessel on my left side is thousands in number. So the fishermen mostly operate from these sort of vessels. These are some of the statistics that are taken from the IOTC side, that the number of yellowfin tuna, which around the catch from the gill net vessels is very high number, that is around 14,000 tons per annually, and same as the rate of the bycatch. So as a conservation based organization, we have objective to conserve the bycatch. And you can see that these nets, how the bycatch is caught up in these sort of gill nets. So why we feel a need to start a queue-based observer program? Because as you see, this is the typical or common boat that is that fish in the Pakistani waters. And if you see, there is no room for independent observer in this boat, because this boat, they don't have any toilet facility. The person has to sit on the back, the crew on the front. He has to sleep on the deck. So, and along with that, there are the Norwegian rats and scorpions or present on the boat. So we feel a need that we have to train the skippers in order to collect the data. So what we do, it's a long process. Starting from back in 2012, we start integrating with the fishermen. We start communicating with them, and we can have a discussion over a cup of chai or a tea. And we go to the vessels, we go to the harbors, we call them to our office. We included them in workshops. And after these things, two fishermen agreed to provide us data. And they also bring two of their friends. So we have four skippers who are ready to provide us the data. And after every trip, they have something in mind that we have to change this thing in the form, this species is missing. So we got this sort of bycatch in this trip, so we can change the form accordingly. And after so many months of the hard work, we are finally able to collect the data what we are actually looking for a fisherman. So these are some of our heroes who can collect the data on the vessels. So starting from 2012, we have only 4 observers, and this number is gradually increasing, and it's become 20, 30, 40, 75, 2017, and now we have around 200 queue-based observers who are trained to collect the data according to the prescribed format. While collecting the data from the fishermen, another thing came to our notice, that the ratio of the bycatch is different in different months. So we have a high number of dolphin mortality in October, November, and September, unlike in February, March, and April. And we, after calculating the data, we found out that there are around 12,000 dolphins killed annually by entangled in the gill nets. Along with that, thousands of sharks and sea turtles are killed through the gill net. So we have developed some of the awareness training materials for the fishermen in order to understand them what is the bycatch and what you have to do with them. So if you see in that infograph, the gillnets are around 12 kilometer long in the setting in the sea, and it is equivalent to around, you can say, six, if you are a fan of a cricket, it will be around 600 pitches, that is 600 pitches long gillnet is in the sea. Or you can say 80 or 100 football grounds, because the football season is on. So what is the problem we identified is the high level of bycatch. So we need to find out the solution. So while having the discussion with the fishermen, because in Pakistan most of the fishermen do either the surface gill netting or the bottom gill netting. So we asked them to practice different gill settings, like you can set your net 2 meter down, 4 meter down, 6 meter down, in order to check if we can make some reduction in the bycatch. So fishermen came up with this data that if they can set up their gear 2 meters below the surface of water, they get a good catch of tuna. And because it is scientifically proven that the adult size of the tuna is under the water and not on the surface. So basically, the graph shows, if you see, after practicing the subsurface gear, the number of cetacean bycatch is very low, but there is not a significant difference in the number of the tuna they are catching. And also the size of the tuna they are getting is the adult one. So what we do with the fishermen who is not agree to do the subsurface gill netting, and they still practicing the surface gill netting. So we guided them how to safely release the bycatch. If somehow any sort of bycatch entangled in their nets, they have to release them. So we provided them the safe release guidelines, the methods how they can safely release the turtle, whale, dolphin. For every species, we have a separate, we can say, the infograph for them, so that how they can release these bycatch. So in this video, in this picture, you can see the fishermen are releasing the bycatch. So after doing these efforts by practicing the subsurface gear, by releasing the bycatch back into the water and collecting data for us, definitely they need some implementation, because we are not providing them any sort of good incentive. So we can just significantly, we can say we can provide them with the stipend, so they can cover the cost from harbor to our office to provide us the data. So we acknowledge them. What motivates them to continuing practicing these sustainable fishing practices and providing us the data? We acknowledge them on different forums. We can post their stories. We can post their stories on the social media, on the press release in Pakistan. Along with that, you can also find the videos on the YouTube, so that, and also we can give them the awards for the best observer award and the best skipper award, so that they keep motivated and keep practicing the sustainable fishing practices. Along with that, we also do some measures in order to, for the fisheries improvement. It's like we install the CCTV cameras on the board. We install the LED, we can do the LED light trials in order to reduce the bycatch conservation. The eDNA sampling for some of the significant species to look for their hotspots of the breeding grounds, and to digitize the data that the fishermen are collecting. So for that, we also develop a mobile application, which my friend Shoaib will tell you in detail in his presentation. So this is all the things that we do for the betterment of small scale fisheries in Pakistan. So the last message is that it's a win-win situation. By practicing these techniques and collecting the data, we can provide that data to government of Pakistan, and government of Pakistan, because the compliance level of Pakistan fisheries data is just 5% in the IOPC. But after providing the skipper-based data, this compliance level increased to 5% to 55%. That's a big achievement, and definitely all the regional countries are very happy with the performance of Pakistan, and Pakistan got so much appreciation Along with that, our conservation target is achieved as well because our objective is to conserve the bycatch, so we can conserve the bycatch. And for the fishermen, they also get the benefit by using the subsurface gas due to less number of bycatch, because sometimes they have to cut their nets in order to release the bycatch, or they have to struggle with their nets to entangle that, release the entangled animal. So that's all from my side. Thank you. I hope you covered the slides.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for keeping to the time limit. We need to keep the time.
So, moving on, great, if I can call you, your hard work, your hard work. Well, next up will be Shwet, who will walk through the mobile data application system. That we are going for data protection in small scale fisheries.
Is it cumbersome? But this one.
Hello, everyone, and good morning. The first slide is impressive. I'm sorry that the text is changed. My name is Ryan, and I'm working as a coordinator with in the Pakistan. And I'm going to talk about the mobile application development. So, Jawad has put the scenes talking about our association with the fishermen. CWWF leads on participatory approach. Since 2012, we've been working with the fishermen. The different capacities, different projects. Some of them are livelihoods, and a few of them were on research-based projects. So you have seen some of them as well. So that journey, working with the fishermen, with the different projects, with the different initiatives, it led us to come to this conclusion of developing a mobile application. Again, the text, sorry for that. So it happened like, we have been working with the fishermen while, outreaching them, and we had a long relationship with them. I mean, in terms of time, we spent a lot of time with different data sheets, for different projects, for different species, and we had, some hands-on exercises as well. And somehow we found that, some of the things are overlapping. Some of them are, a few of them are unique in terms of, collecting data for the fisheries. And it's not only about the data collection from the onboard vessels or from the full sampling. We were working with them on training them, for example, self-handling and releases. And based on that self-handling and releases, we have incorporated the ecological, the whole wisdom of the fishermen with the science, knowledge, and we have developed the guidebook as well for the data collection as well. So a few of them, one of the few of them is using mobile application. It is an Android mobile application which has two layers, two interfaces. One is for the onboard fisherman, and the other one is for the port sample. So due to the time that I've got 10 minutes, I'm not going to go the all of it, but I'm going to give you the crisp of it, like what kind of data can be collected by using this mobile application. So for example, like starting from here, so while using this button, the departure and arrival, so in the background, there is timestamp that will be recorded each and every time. While moving here, it is from here, the data collection will be, the cycle of data collection will include from here to this point, and keep, repeating from this button to this button. So what exactly we can find here in equipment system? It covers all the administrative data. It means that all the fish, the number of crew, how much of it water they took on board, the fuel, the other expenses they take with us in terms of the administrative data. So while moving forward, like there is another screen or interface where the fishermen can check, can double check their configurations as well. So while talking about the configurations, So this application is being focused on the for the gillnets and the lowlands as well, since gillnets is most popular here, which is used in the Indian Ocean. So if the fisherman is using different names, they have the option to do and change it. And if they are, for example, using 2 kilometer long net, and in the second trip, they are going to target a different species. So they have the option of converting it or update their configuration as well in terms of land and western. So that covers administration data. So the operation data starts from here, which includes the details of what is the fishing method, either in the surface, subsurface, or bottom, and it includes the list. It asks the fisherman or the user about the target fish, what the fish is being targeted, and it includes the gear type as well, to double check. And after that, after selecting the fishing method, so while deploying the set net and ending the set net, so there's in the back there is a time being recorded. So we put that in order that to support all those data collection activities that we use for science. Like for example, collecting the data of water surface temperature, visibility in the meters, and the depth of the water as well. So the cycle of setting the net and holding it back, so it goes into the operation one, and from the operation data, it leads you to the fish composition, which means the fish catch. Well, in fish catch, we do have that in so the user being suggest advised random sampling for size frequency data recording. So they can use they're supposed to take a picture of the species for data identification. So for example, this application has been used by the longliners, and they target the eel fish. So the fisherman is just the eel, but in the eel, you have eels and moraines, but then you have 14 species as well. So we cannot upload, we cannot focus or maybe rely on that whatever the fisherman is recording there, but we need to do so that's an option of collecting the picture as well. So after that, it goes with what was the target cake, what was the number of the fish, what was the weight of it, and they're going to suppose to take a random sample of size frequency of each category of the fish. So then it has so it's linked that with the status of the cat as well. Like, for example, the crocker or eel, how it was treated, and it was retained. It asked about the retained fish, about the bite release, and the discard as well. So when the fish trip ends, it goes to the fish catches. So these all of the fish catches mean that it calculates the target fish and the bite fish. So by the end of that trip, so the cycle will go on and on. After that, the fisherman or the user is supposed to go back to the port. By reaching the port, they are supposed to select or to press its arrival. After that, we've included some of the basic social economics, like what was the total expenses, what was the total fish sale at first price, and then while fulfilling that, and what was the rate of fish per kg which was sold, and after fulfilling that those fields, it leads to the trip summary, which can tell them about which gives a summary of what was the fishing trip, as it was one first, second fishing trip or second fishing trip, including all the expenses and the total income as well. So the next one is this both interface are basically focusing on the data fish species, and it asks the fishermen, it complements that all the requirements which are used for the data collection for sampling. And here the user can interview the fishermen with all the relevant questions within this umbrella of this category, and it has the option of collecting data on the basis of quality of the fish, how it was treated, and where it was marketed. Followed by with the middleman interviews as well, and again started from the basic ones, and ends up with a random sampling from the local middlemen. And the last one is about the process. It asks about the processes, basic questions, and administrative questions. And if there's a possibility, if the processor allows, So they have the possibility of collecting size frequency data from it as well. So this application is that it is the whole application is translated in 3 languages. That's in Urdu, another national language, the local language, that's Sindhi and English itself. So by the end of the day, it follows like the ecosystem is the same that we are using it, since when the fisherman gets a report or connects to the internet connectivity, all the data would be synchronized to the dashboard. So this is the dashboard. Till now, we have around 42 users, which includes about 115 trips. It's still in the progress, and but even though we still collecting the data, so all these fields are being uploaded from the users on the cloud. So at this point, there's a matter of reports which can generate all those collected data and export it to the Excel sheet. So this is just a raw image. So by using this application, I'm confident that all those, if this application is used by filling all the fields, we'll be capable to report all the data requirements that are being requested from IPC from coastal states. Just give you an example. Again, this is the data sheet, which is because since coastal states have different templates for the data collection, and IPC is still struggling to have that overall standardized template to be followed by all of the different coastal states. But even though by following all those templates, the resolution special 1 or 1705 about it, but ETP species, shark-fin and dolphins. So this application can complement to collect the data and capable and make our fisheries departments to be capable to report their data, which is collected and reported back to the regional fisheries, RFM. In this way, I'm not sure it's clear, but we will be capable of reporting data about the size frequencies and total catches, annual minimum reporting as well. So this is the template that this application will be instrumental to be used and reported back. This is our vision. We would like to do this way. So I'm running out of time. So this is what we want. We start collecting data here to support our national department, and from here to the other divisions, and from there to the for sharing data and knowledge collected to FAO, IPC, CMS, IPC, and the rest of IUC group as well. So I would like to thank all the fishermen who work hard by their support, and I would like to also acknowledge and my gratitude to all donors and cooperators with their financial support that we be able to work with the fishermen so closely, and we had that trust, we built that trust as well. I would like to thank Mr. Obura, Academia for enabling me to understand the statistics of being a small fishery. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. And next. Everything you already did.
Good morning. My name is Carolina Cabero, and I work at the electronic maintenance department in Saturday. Saturday is a technology company that develops solutions for sustainable fisheries and the better management of the coastal resources. And now I'm going to put a video where you can see the solution for fisheries, governments, and NGOs.
SatLink is a leading global provider of IoT end-to-end hardware and software solutions. Our solutions are designed to optimize decision-making for fishing vessels and regulators. We We've worked with both the fishing industry, developing solutions to help them fish in a more efficient way, and with fisheries regulators and governments to help them improve their knowledge and management of ocean resources. SatLink's offering is structured around two types of solutions: IoT solutions, from the deployment of hardware solutions to collecting relevant information, such as DSF, electronic monitoring solutions, and VMS, to the analysis of that data, addressing specific industry and regulators' requirements with our software developments. Our DSF software, oceanographic services, or onshore review, among others. Connectivity solutions, providing global and broadband solutions in the maritime, land, air, and defense environment. Technology, innovation, and sustainability are the main pillars of our company, complemented by SatLink's commercial and operational excellence, with the client at the center of our culture. Our goal is to keep working in order to develop new solutions that help to address large global environmental challenges.
An EM system consists of a series of cameras and sensors on board vessels that record fishing activity 24/7 and that can be sent on shore to be analyzed.
It's the most technologically advanced solution, leveraging AI and real-time data, using onboard sensors and cameras, along with onshore technology to monitor the vessel's activity. SatLink's EM adapts easily to the specific needs of each vessel, thanks to its modular characteristics and adaptable system. Its large storage capacity and the marinized cameras ensure optimal performance even in the hardest conditions. EM allows for more cost-efficient and sustainable operations, as well as proof of compliance and good practices. It provides us with higher transparency and traceability. It offers reliable and irrefutable data, as well as proof of compliance with environmental regulations. And of course, it also provides scientific data for a better management of fishery resources.
For the review of the footage, we have two options. The first one is the in-house review done by SatLink.
DOS, Digital Observer Services, is SatLink's review services company. With years of experience, our trained marine biologists are capable of reviewing the footage, reporting to authorities, and certifying that the vessel complies with regulations.
We also have another option that consists of several trainings. We provide training services to our customers, normally governments.
SatLink has developed its own EM review software tool, SatLink View Manager, that helps speed up the review process. We have also developed, by leveraging machine learning models trained in-house, several tools such as the SatLink Capture algorithm that helps detect phishing events by improving the quality and the speed of the review and providing full autonomy to regulators and fishing agencies. Electronic monitoring offers higher accuracy than does human observation, and it's a more effective solution for bycatch reporting. It also reduces costs, saves space, and it's foolproof, as EM cameras don't need to rest, sleep, can't be bribed or tampered with. SatLink is the leading VMS supplier in Spain for the Spanish Fishing Authority and fishing fleet. SatLink designs and assembles proprietary VMS solutions, providing real-time data on the location, speed, and course of fishing vessels. This information allows regulators to carry out real-time monitoring of fishing activity and companies to perform analysis and generate reports to improve their decision-making process and operations. The VMS service includes hardware and information services, providing end-to-end services through GPS location, processing and analysis of data, and user interface at fishing management centers. VMS helps vessels to comply with regulation requirements. It heightens its security and offers data for more effective fleet management and more efficient and sustainable management of oceanic resources.
I hope you enjoy the video. And in this case, we are focused our solutions for the artisanal vessels. And we have the complete solution that consists in the VMS artisanal, the electronic reporting system, and the fishery planning center. As you see at the video, SatLink has more than 2,000 VMS deployed worldwide, And these systems record the vessel ID, the date, the time, position, and course and speed. This system has the possibility to set up the time of the information of the transmission of information, and this information will transmit via 4G to the fisheries management center. It could be transmitted also by satellite, but depends on the configuration of the system. For example, if the system doesn't have a coverage, that's not a problem for this system because it can store all the information, and as soon as it gets covered, it transmits all the information to the fisheries management center. And this system is powered by satellite and is complete tamper-proof. It records everything information by its own. Here we can see the tools that we have for smart fisheries. The electronic reporting system is electronic logbook that the fisherman introduces the fisherman's name, the vessel ID, the catch of the day, and the species of the type of the fish. And all this information, and also with the records of the VMS, is sent to the fisheries management center. And this starting develop these platforms for governments and regulators. And with these platforms, the regulators can have better management of the fleets with the VMS installed. And in this fisheries management center, they analyze and generate information. And with all these tools, we obtain real data and traceability data that is very important to combat to the IUU. And here you can see the DMS that is very small, and depends on the size of the vessels. The solar panel have different size. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
After this.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Jose Carlos Alvarez. I am from Latin America, specifically from Peru. I work as a sustainability officer in WWF Peru, and I'm going to present our experience in Peru in develop and implementation sustainability electronic system called RASAP. Well, first of all, what is RASAP? I have a small video that resumes our experience.
Imagine a country without fishers. That cevichito would never reach your table. Without the effort of those fishers that go to sea while everyone sleeps, those tons of Peruvian product would never get to feed the world. Rough seas, cold, and days of travel, a fisher always manages to face and overcome daily difficulties because our fishers have evolved. They have evolved so much that they now use TRASAP for those large operations. a digital system that connects all the stakeholders and follows the path of the seafood thanks to the sharing and collection of information of each link of the value chain. How does it work? 1. Electronic departure. The app is used to initiate the departure. Now the journey starts. Once at sea, the good part begins. The captain records the catches at that moment. 2. Landing. Returning to port, the catch and the weight of the catches is recorded according to each species through the app. 3. Sales from the ship owner to the intermediary. Here, the ship owner will be able to offer his products thanks to the fact that the intermediaries also have the app. 4. Sales from intermediary to processing plants or wholesale markets. They'll be able to sell the products on a larger scale with the differential of having the information of the origin of the catches. In addition, the landing site administrator will be able to see on his computer everything that is happening in real time. What do we generate with all this? Valuable information for all the stakeholders in the seafood production chain. Why is it important to use TRAS app? Because it ensures the legal origin and sustainability of fishing. It helps to comply with the international market standards and allows the proper regulation of fishing. To continue having the most productive sea in the world, Peru's sea needs all its stakeholders. Download the app and be part of the evolution.
So, as you can see, this platform is for different users in evolution, and all users are connected each other through information. And where our focus always is, well, first we start in one region in the north of Peru, but now we are in more than 6 regions. And this system was built together with fishers, with the vessel owners, to look at what information they need, what is the requirements, and in all ways of the training, we expect to have feedback for the user because the system is for them. And the idea is that they see a function reality for their requirements to can use this mobile app. Now the mobile app is based in different fisheries, mostly in the mathematic fishery, the fishery, shark, and among others. There are more than 400 vessels that use the system, more than 3 vessel owners, and 2,000 officials registered in the system. Is implemented in 5 artisanal landing sites to record information. There are registered more than 80 species. And this is the record information. For example, if you can see in this month was the more prepared in Peru. Peru was one of the countries more affected by the pandemic. And if you can see, you can know how external factors can affect the fisheries. And for this reason, there aren't landing. But then the landing recovering at a high level. And you can see this information by species, by season, by reports, by different information. It depends what do you want to see. Until now, there are more to 80,000 of tons landed about the system for the fishers. And for example, this is a statistics to resume all the information about the system. With more than 8,000 of trips. Well, I said more than 4,000 vessels and more than 80,000 tons landed. And you can see the different months with more productive, with less productive, the different regions, the different species. This is all the species. If we have more species by giant squid because the most important fishery in Peru is that, and for this reason is the main fishery with their landing, but there are more than 80 species different. And this is our presence in different regions across the coast. And finally, this is a solidity report what inform all information about the value chain. What is the species, how is the fishing gear, who fishes the resource, in what point was landed and what point was sold this research, and all the key data elements necessary to the market to know information about the traceability report. And we think that interoperability is the key, and for this reason, we have interoperability with different government entities. And if you see in the right section, we connect information with the government, and we can extract the legal documents about the vessel, about the truck, about the plant, the markets. So this is my presentation. Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, so that's all.
Chris,
It's a discussion.
We to adopt, maybe I can just have really quick fire questions to the presenters. Jawad, you mentioned about peer reporting data, and what I wanted to know from you is if you can tell what is the motivation behind the fishermen to keep reporting data?
Thank you, ma'am, for asking this question. The motivation behind the fishermen providing us the data is that the recognition they have received by the social media uplift and the uplift within the community. Because, in Pakistan, the fishermen community, they are very marginalized community. So when we can share their success stories within the community and at the social platforms, so people start calling them, man, you are the hero of the sea, you did a great job, you safely released that thing back to the ocean. So they feel this privilege, and along with that, what we do, we engage in our workshops and give them the incentives in terms of reward. We are giving them the best the best observer reward, so they feel obliged. So in the tradition of Pakistan, and we also go along with them on the vessels to have a chit chat and on the board, and they came to our offices, so like we are some sort of colleagues. These are the things that are keep motivating the fishermen to provide us with it. And if you allow me, sorry for that. In my presentation, because I have out of time, so I forgot to play the two safe release videos that I wanted to show all of you, that how the fishermen are motivated and they can safely release the bycatch back to the ocean. So I can request Shred if you can play one by one the two videos for the audience, so then they can get a good grasp regarding the bycatch release. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Jawad. Very clever of you. Okay. Let's look at the videos. This is a fisherman diving into the water. Where you see a trying to kill it. It's an olive tree. It was caught in a jute bag, so I will have been part of it. Yes, so I can really shy away from this one. This received about 15 million hits in about a week. It was put on the planet of our website. So, and fishermen diving into the water is all voluntary. You don't pay them to do this, and I think no one would put their lives on risk. And I think that's really fascinating to see how fishermen are motivated to cut their nets, and nets are the most important assets a fisherman can have, and they are very expensive indeed. So that's a loss, and they don't get compensated for this. I still haven't been able to figure out really what's the motivation behind, fishermen doing this on a voluntary basis. something that goes beyond, I think, commitments. And it goes beyond social media recognition. I think social media presence or a social uplift, in my opinion, I'm not pretty sure that would be the motivating factor. Or the small incentives, which is worth $70 a month. If there is an answer, response to some of the social media, social scientists in this room, would love to hear your views on this. Anyone who would like to kind of, let's let this sink in a little bit. Thank you for sharing those, and thank you for playing those for us. But I wanted to quickly ask Carolina, in the video that you displayed, you mentioned that the video systems, they do not sleep, they do not eat, they do not get tired, and they certainly can be right, but they can be switched off. So how do you ensure that the systems are, there's another one.
Yeah, I just paused it.
Systems keep running and the data keeps getting collected.
The systems works by itself because it's sunlight power and this I think this is very important for small scale fisheries because there are a lot of vessels that they don't have their own energy and I think that it's important that the governments and the development organizations look forward to pilot with such low cost technology on the small scale fisheries that giving some benefits to the fishermen like good market prices or something that will motivate to use this technology.
Thanks, Carolina. Do you think it could be in the safety of small scale fisheries that the camera system may not, would that be one of the incentives for fishermen to keep using these? I mean, this is a question to anyone in the panel, all the presenters.
You said the cameras on my system? Yes, the cameras, we think that they are very important also for the bypass and everything, but for the labor conditions on board the vessels, I think it's very important to have cameras and to have systems that guarantee the safety of the fishermen on the sea.
Thank you, Carolina.
Thank you, man. I'll start by introducing myself because we didn't give that opportunity in the beginning. I'm Eduardo Videira. I work for WWF Mozambique. I'll be short. I worked for WWF Mozambique for 5 years. I'm from Mozambique and live since I was born. I work on the marine ecology and fisheries in Mozambique and in SWIO regions in the region. Yeah, responding to your question on the safety, I think the benefits of this technology, not only the ones that were presented here, but some others that we saw along these 3 days and other days in the world, that exactly on the safety for the fishermen, the artisanal fishermen, for example, communication directly or real time with the parents or even the security authorities in their countries, and also early warning systems or weather forecast, weather forecast before they leave out to fish, or even while they're doing the fishing and they get information that from storm is coming, come back, not being surprised in the sea.
Thanks, Eduardo, for responding to that question. Evelino, I have a question for you before we move on. Just one question to Evelino and then one to pass, and then I promise to open up for the audience. I wanted to ask you, just like Eduardo and Caroline has mentioned about the trade-offs or the incentives that the technology can bring in. And we've talked about how we need to look at realistic practical solutions. And do you think technology could be one of those? And if yes, then how can we get a triple bottom line or a triple win, from the government's perspective? I mean, just to make a bag, how can we break this narrative on going as business as usual scenario and break the cycle of poverty through the use of technology?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the question. I will try to respond to the intergovernmental perspective. We all know that small scale fisheries is very important for most of the coastal countries, also inland. And we know that it's contributed a lot on food security and give employment for thousands of people on those countries. And also the fisheries artisanal sector produce more if we compare with other big sectors. So that's why we need to pay more attention on it. This is the discussion that we've been having in the last 4 days in this conference. How to bring the government within this perspective. One of the problems that face that artisanal fishing sector faces lack of income. And I believe and I agree that most of the countries are developing some national policies, developing strategy in order to overcome this process, which is now being done using paper. And some solutions have been shown up here that can assist those countries. So this is one of the ways using the national strategies and policies. But let me talk on a regional perspective. And I wanted to bring here several strategies that are being developed. And they are required to be implemented at the national level or translated to the national levels. And let me take here the opportunity to talk about one of the initiatives that is ongoing now at SADC, which is the development of SADC Fishers MCS Coordinating Center, which one of the aim is to gather as much information as we can on MCS and also help the member states to share that information. And of course, this can only be done if there is a capacity. We need to get the financial and technical capacity to be able to implement those tools. And we have had several days of workshop where we exchange experience, and this is what is needed: collaboration between the countries and different agencies in order to make sure this thing is possible. So the best scenario would be to allow cost effective of those tools, and also develop something like monitoring and evaluation strategy so that we can timely monitor this process.
Thank you, Evelino. Qazi, we've got 20 minutes so I need to hear back. So very shortly, Qazi, if you could tell, the use of science, and we've seen, all engaging fishers in data collection seems possible, but it's still paper-based. Do you think the information that we're receiving from the fishermen can be biased? And if yes, then how can we, overcome this challenge?
Yeah, thank you very much. Basically, the contribution of small-scale fisheries in the national economy is not explicit because the data, information, and operations are not accessible and thus not fully incorporated in the system. So I consider that the use of technology and citizen science based approach enable us to bridge the gap between the large scale fisheries and small scale fisheries. And yes, about the biasism of the data, there are means available with the era of technological advancement. There are means available to have correct data, and we have representatives of settings and also from CLS of different companies who can enlighten us on this aspect. So I think in this era there are hundred of ways and means available to have correct recorded data, and the need of citizenship, citizen science-based approach is important. Is very important because otherwise it will only suit to the industrial and large-scale fisheries. However, we should consider to cater it for small-scale fisheries.
Thank you, Razi. We'll be taking questions from the floor, so just raise your hand and I'll come to you. Yes.
Thank you very much, and congratulations to the scientists who have made our day today. Yeah, I am a social scientist and I've been working with fishermen for many years. And now we are talking about citizen science. If I'm looking to the tools which we are using, I see the possibility of many information from the small scale fishers left out at the end of the day. It would be very interesting also to see some of the reports which you are producing and how those information are integrated in the decision-making process. Because we know our fishermen, especially small-scale fishers, they are getting a lot of challenges. And at the end of the day, whatever the tool we use, they will come up with numbers. And all the narratives and issues, there are so many, a higher possibility of being left out. So we really need to integrate social scientists when we undertake these studies and when we develop such kind of tools, so that those narratives also can be integrated and be incorporated in the policy and our action plan. Because now I see you are talking about you are bridging the gap between larger scale and small scale. I was expecting the gap is being bridged between the natural scientists and the communities. Because normally the natural scientists, they go out, learn the frequency, wait, go back to the lab. Not talking to the fisherman, not talking to the community. We want that gap to be filled from whatever we do now. And also we should be able to indicate if it is low cost. What was the cost before and how have you been able to reduce that particular cost? So that cost, you are not telling us here how you have been able to reduce. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Modesta. We'll take a few more questions before we request Tracy. Back.
Thanks, and thanks a lot for detailing this. Mine is a very simple one. If one, say, either government would like to pilot this, what does it take? That's it.
What is it?
Yeah, we're talking about very concrete state here. So if I am, say, one government, and I'd like to pilot one of these, how shall I move from here? The very concrete way. Thank you.
Thanks.
I have also some questions about the participation of fishers in the monitoring of their fisheries. The figures that you gave us, I mean, were about like 42 boats, fishers, keepers who are involved in that monitoring. When you mentioned earlier in the presentation that there were thousands of boats in that fisheries, that 142 or 102 trips, something like that. I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly. Were already recorded. So my question would be how you would scale up effectively, that survey, and back to your concern about what would be the motivation of those fishers to participate in such a survey. Maybe there is some financial incentive to think of, probably some more linkages also with the department, and that comes with my second question about who manages the data. I mean, the database. Is that managed by the WWF? Is that managed by a national institution, by a fish organization? I think that's very important in terms of how the Pakistan fishers get ownership and use actually that system for their own decision making process. And my last question would be more technical, because we also work on those technologies. It's how that app, I mean, the application on that smartphone can be used on such vessels that you mentioned. I mean, if the catch happens at night, for instance, under rapid conditions, is that used, when they get back home, you use like log sheets just to record the data, or do they use the app just on? Thanks.
Thank you. Let's take 2 more questions.
Sorry, I will speak in Portuguese. My colleague had this for me. Muito obrigado. Eu queria agradecer as ferramentas que os colegas apresentaram aqui na monitoria das embarcações de pequenas camas. Thank you so much. I want to thank the tools for the control of small scale fisheries. Como disse o colega doutor Avelino, de facto, é a preocupação do governo de Moçambique nesta componente de MCS nas várias áreas, nas várias pescarias, pequena escala e assim como na pescaria industrial. As my colleague Avelino mentioned, is worry for Mozambique government control different fisheries, so for the fisheries, in terms of VMS too. Há cerca de 3, 4 anos, o governo de Moçambique encomendou alguns estudos no âmbito da implementação da estratégia do MCS, financiado pelo Banco Mundial através do programa SWIO. 3-4 years ago, Mozambique government implemented and asked some studies for implementing VMS to soy fish. Foram estudos para as diferentes áreas, na pesca artesanal, semi-industrial, na pesca industrial. We start for different fields on artisanal, semi-industrial e industrial. Isso mostra qual para além do próprio governo, já tem uma estratégia de eficiência que está em vigor, agora está em processo de revisão. Isso mostra qual é a preocupação que o governo tem. Falo da parte da governança, que alguma das apresentações fazia referência a isso, em relação a esta componente. It shows the interest of the Mozambican government on these issues. We have got strategy on VMS for this company. Por último, quero enaltecer, de facto, o controle que tem nas embarcações de pequena escala, porque ao nível de Moçambique, já tinha sido imaginado algum sistema para a implementação deste dispositivo. A partir do sistema que está a ser em uso, houve algum constrangimento de facto, porque diziam que eram instrumentos que não resistiam à chuva, não resistiam às intempéries, e tivemos isso também. Estamos a ter dificuldade na implementação da hora base, e penso que, através desse dispositivo, acredito que é uma experiência, mas precisa do comprometimento dos governos, precisa de investimento para a área da pesca da pequena escala. Thank you so much. I think these issues are very important. I said we were already developing the system in Mozambique to move the developments into small scale fisheries. We got some problems. Certain people used to say that this system is not equated for small scale fisheries because of war or rain problem. So we try to do it and Zambezi Dam, where we have small scale fisheries there, industrial fleet, which is really. Sim, porque dizia-se que os convênios das embarcações que nós tínhamos não eram compatíveis para nós. Mas vimos as experiências aqui, penso que é possível. Muito obrigado. Thank you very much. So, thank you very much once again. But we do believe that Mozambique used to say that these equipments will not suit our crafts because the type of decks we do have, but we've seen the experience that we may use it in our business too. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Two questions online.
After this, we also need to get to the question of Zoom. So,
thank you so much. Thank you for the presenters. My question is simple. I wanted to know what kind of device TransApp use to enable monitoring operation. Because we've seen a lot of options of low-cost MTS tools, but from my experience, these devices or tools are not, how can I say, there is no kind of complementarity, or we don't have a unique system where we can have data for compliance, monitoring, as well as safety in just one system. So from my experience, complementarity of these systems is really important, mostly when we're talking about let's say countries, developing countries, different realities in Africa.
thank you, Vicente. How many questions?
Two questions. Two questions could verify.
First, I'll go one by one and then we'll go to the Zoom questions as well. So maybe on the first one, I think we're going to understand the point with regards to having what integration and actual science versus social science. And but maybe Jamal, this is a question to you, but anyone can answer on how those data acquisition is converting into helping in making informed decision making. Well, data is good. You're getting a really good, you're releasing animals as well. But how do you turn this into making informed decisions?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking this question. That you raise a very important point. Actually, what we do is that after the data is coming from the small scale fishermen, we start calculating them and managing the data. And we start, you can say, the analysis with the data that government of Pakistan is already generating for the fishermen. So we can find a huge differences in that particular data. So we get to back to the government and ask them that our fisherman is getting the data for us, and maybe in order to increase the compliance level at IOTC and to get the fishermen and recognition of their work, maybe you can use the data of WW of Pakistan and submit that to the IOTC because the data is relevant to the data as what port centers are collecting. So they take our data, and because we have already keep in mind all the recommendations from the IOTC, so we submit that data to the government of Pakistan to submit it further to the IOTC. And after submitting that data, the compliance level of Pakistan is increasing at a drastic level. You know, it's like 5% before when the crew actually collecting the data, and now the compliance level is boosted up to 55%. So we are continuously working for the betterment of the fisheries and the fisher. And along with the things that Umair also mentioned in their presentation for their to reduce their post-harvest losses, we provided them the ice boxes, we provided them different sort of LED lights in order to reduce the bycatch. Along with that, we are now also working on the long line gates so that they can further go towards the sustainable fisheries and they can get a good catch out of it. I hope this answers the question.
Not quite, but I'll get back to that one because it also links with the data confidentiality issues and who manages or who owns the data. I'll keep this open for a while because I want to go maybe you want to have an email or from the perspective of the government in the question that was asked on the floor. How can we move? You know, what's the complete action to take and all violence? You know, we know the technology works. But also taking into account what Cynthia mentioned, that there is not no one size fits all. So you know, you don't have one complementary tool that can give you the most bang for the buck that you put in. So that talks about interoperability between the data. But coming back, what are the concrete steps? Again, not from the Mozambican perspective, but from your IPM news perspective, the last video which the governments can do to roll out violence.
You can go on.
Thank you
here.
very much. Yes,
2 more minutes.
There is a lot to be done, and yes, to start is a bit difficult, but within the framework of SADC Fisheries NCS Coordinating Center, we have an aim now that gives more importance for artisanal fishers, especially for inland fishers. And there is currently one activity that is ongoing related to identification of low-cost MCS tools that can be applicable in this time. So we should start together. We should start piloting, identify those low-cost MCS tools that can be implementable, and we pilot them, and we have to assess and see what are the results before we expand to other countries. And as I mentioned before, and my colleague from Mozambique also mentioned that some of the countries has already developed some specific strategy on MCS, so we can just start from there, engage those member states, and in a collaborative way, we start implementing those. And as I said, management of fisheries depends on data. If we don't have data, then we are not managing. We had 2 days ago that fisheries generate one perpetuity. But if we don't manage those resources, then it will not grow. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So we need to, I know we need to wrap up. Just 1 more minute because I think this question is very important. So if I can go to Carolina on the cost, because we talk about how technology is important, but technology cannot be eaten as well. So we need food on the table. So can you tell us more about what is the cost of these technology? What is the cost of this units? Are they affordable? It's very good.
I'm sorry, we need to end the Zoom session. You can keep going on here.
Okay.
Yeah.
because of,
Yes, can you stay for 5 more minutes? That's okay? Please.
thanks, Mike.